Okay, it being 6:30, let's call the meeting to order. Yeah, I was going to say roll call, please. Here.
Mr. Rogers,
Here.
Mr. Roach. Here. Mr. Smith,
Here.
Mr. Benedetti.
Here.
Okay, this being our first meeting of 2026, this is our reorganization meeting. So I am going to turn over the temporary chairperson role to our solicitor, Mr. Nicholas.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman. Accepting the role of temporary chairperson, I'd ask for a motion to enter into the reorganization and appointments as listed on the agenda. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by the chairman, second.
I'll second the motion.
Second. And any objections? All in favor?
All in favor?
All in favor.
Aye.
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 Okay, at this time, for appointment of chairperson,
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Roseanne Rogers as chairperson of the Cecil Township Municipal Authority.
well, and at this point, without a motion, are there any other recommendations or offers for chairmanship? That being the case, then, no other suggestions for chairperson. Ask for a motion to, or I guess a second to the motion to approve Roseanne as the chairperson.
I'll make that motion.
Second by, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, at this time, then, I could relinquish the chairmanship to the newly appointed chairperson, Roseanne. Congratulations, and take it from there.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to continue on nominations for seats on the board. The next would be for vice chairperson, Cecil Township Municipal Authority. And I'd like to make a motion for Aaron Barnes for this position.
I'll second the motion.
All right. All in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to this motion? Okay, so our vice chair will be Aaron Barnes. Next up on the list would be, do we have a motion for an appointment for secretary treasurer?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Craig Roach for Secretary Treasurer, Cecil Township Municipal Authority.
I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next would be for the seat as Assistant Secretary Treasurer of Cecil Township Municipal Authority.
I'd like to make the motion to appoint Brad Smith as Assistant Secretary Treasurer of the Cecil Township Municipal Authority.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next, is there a motion to designate Gatens, I don't know how to say this, Tucheri and Nicholas as solicitor for the authority?
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Next, is there a motion to designate Lennon Smith Silleray Engineering as consulting engineer for the authority? I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Is there a motion to designate Mark C. Turnley, CPA, as the auditor for the authority?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, let's move forward. I'll make the motion to designate CFS Bank as the depository for the authority. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So for 2026, I think all seats and positions are now in order and approved. Moving on to the next agenda item. Is there a motion to approve the December 16th, 2026 minutes?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call vote?
Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Rogers?
Aye.
Mr. Roach?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Benedetti?
Aye.
All right, those minutes are now approved. Next on the agenda is the engineer's report. Mr. Lennon?
Go to the monthly report. So the first item, the Village of Lawrence, under the collection system contract. We're helping Mike get that grinder pump that needs relocated at 50 Boyce property. That was the one you did the easement, I believe, last meeting. So talking to several plumbers to get a quote for that one. Under the construction contract with Rudzik, we did send them change order number 4 final, decreasing the contract amount by $462,013.35. And that's for final in-place quantities. And that includes the final restoration we've discussed over the last 6 months, which the driveway, grass complaints, different things. So we settled up on all those costs. So we'd recommend approval of that by motion when we get to that on the agenda. Under the plant contract, we did issue an updated punch list. They are, I'd say, whittling away at pretty quickly now. They've picked up pace on completing the contract, so they're getting close. The pavement restoration, they had some weather last week. They started it. They didn't complete it, so now they got to wait till, obviously not optimum
No.
asphalt paving season at the moment. So flipping over to page 2, we did have a change order for them, a final change order for multiple items on the treatment plant contract. So there's some electrical improvements at the Theodore Blower building. That was the old control building that's now being used for storage. So we had them replace lights and did a lot of work in there with the lighting and other stuff, electrical stuff. Talking to Mike, there's some pavers we had them put in front of one of the control panels to make it a little cleaner for the operators. Additional stormlet and associated grading down at the plant site. It's such a flat site that we were getting water in different areas, so we had them add additional inlet. Then there's some manholes in the floodway that were set flush to grade, but talked with Mike, we had him extend them up a little bit just so he'll be able to find them and be able to maintain them later. So total cost in that change order is $37,164.82, and we'd recommend approval of that. And then finally, pay request number 27. We went back and forth with them a good bit on this one. After this pay request, there would be $60,000 remaining in retainage, which we feel is enough for the remaining punch list items because they have knocked out a lot. So pay request number 27, the amount of $311,393.26. That's on the agenda. We'd recommend approval of that.
Is it your recommendation to approve that?
Yes, yes. As is Penvest pay request number 29, the amount of $339,783.85, which includes the Mealy pay request on the treatment plant and also interest during construction payments.
Could you
Okay.
repeat those amounts again for number 27? And
So pay request number 27 is $311,393.26. And that's the green sheets is the attachment that includes a detail on that.
okay,
So after that pay request, there'll be $60,000 remaining in retainage to close out.
all right.
And then Penvest pay request number 29 in the amount of $339,783.85.
Okay,
And that's the gold sheets.
okay.
Okay. Traditions of America. So we did have a walkthrough with the contractor and authority manager on December 18th. We did issue an outstanding letter on January 9th. That's attachment D, which is I'll go with salmon sheet. So there's, this is for phase 6. So phase 6, the only outstanding item in terms of dedication for engineering would be the record drawings that they need to submit. The other comment that we had on there is whenever they do the home lot construction, if there's any manholes that need adjusted to grade, whatever they determine the final grade of the homes, they'll have to adjust that. So. Silver Creek planned residential development, so construction is ongoing. They started in September. They have about 2,400 feet of main line in, 45 lateral connections, and 16 manholes have been installed. No bond reductions were requested, so no action tonight on that one. Iron Ridge. So going back and forth on technical submittals with the developer, including some agreements. They did request a material substitution. We've talked about this last couple months. One was a stream crossing. The authority spec is steel casing pipe. Or no, it's concrete encased ductile iron. They proposed to drill it with steel casing pipe with ductile iron within it. The DEP approved that as part of their stream crossing permit. I mean, in terms of substitution, we think that's acceptable. The other one was for crossing the Montour Trail. They proposed drilling with HDPE. We said that would be, first, it's a substitution, so the board, if the board's okay with it, we tell them they're okay. We haven't approved anything yet. But we did advise that it'd have to be straight, because when they drill HDPE, they can, they can bend it, but they can make it straight too. So as long as the board has any issues with that, I can tell them I was going to respond to them that substitutions are acceptable, but just wanted to bring it to the board's attention tonight before I move forward there. The other item there, they did send a updated licensing agreement between the developer and Montour Trail Council for that sewer crossing. So they own a majority of the property, then they have to cross the Montour Trail, and then there's the township property they have to cross, which I believe they got the easement. They were working with the township on that. I know we were involved in that in terms of the solicitor. Right. But now the new issue is this Montour Trail Council agreement.
You want me to speak?
Yeah.
On the Montour Trail agreement that was executed, Mike and I have been talking about it as well. The agreement was entered into in November, and the agreement was between I guess it would be the holding company for Mr. Hoke and Harrington and the Montour Trail. The agreement is not assignable. The language states that it's not assignable. In addition to that, there is a stipend, a reoccurring stipend that, at least at this stage, we were looking not to absorb. So my understanding is that, and Mike may have some follow-up on this, that I think that the sense is that they need to address the fact that the agreement as it exists cannot be assigned to us, even if we wanted to have it assigned. We have to go through another process. And given perhaps a misunderstanding on the part of that group, I think, Mike, you had suggested a meeting with them, and I concur if that's where you are.
Yes, basically, at the end of the day, I did speak to Mr. Hoke about that Montour Trail Crossing Agreement, and he understands that it is not assignable, so he's willing to do whatever needs to be done to change the wording in it. The other reason that we need to have the meeting is I spoke with him briefly today, and it's in part of my report. They are looking for royalties for future connections to the sewer system after he builds that system over there for the Iron Ridge. So that's something that I think we need to have a meeting with the engineer, myself, and the solicitor, so we can get exactly what he's looking for there and do that. I know there is a provision allowed in the Municipal Authorities Act, so we just have to make sure that everybody is on the same page with this and understand what he's looking for.
Yep. Fine with that,
we
so
do
we
that too?
concur with his recommendation.
Does it work both ways?
Sorry.
From the last meeting, we said we were going to try to get a copy of the stream crossing permit and the boring permit. Did we get that?
We received those, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Good, all good. So, sorry, go ahead.
No, all good. Okay, that's Iron Ridge. Mount Pleasant, we do have a presentation. I'll come back to that after we get through our report, and that's what's on the screens. Clifford Road, low-pressure sewer extension. I did request additional information from property owner's engineer regarding the sewer extension within the existing utility easement. I emailed him within the last week, so. FLIR plan and Ridgewood sewer evaluation. So they started work on October 6th. They're about 80% through the cleaning and televising. And we just have some general descriptions there to give the board an update. So we're looking at it in terms of, we're reviewing everything in terms of future maintenance and repair planning we may discuss here for those sewers. So in general, there's the sewers that are constructed within the last 15 years. Like we cleaned and cambered the entire interceptor that was built, was that 15 years ago about?
2008.
2008. And then in the FLIR plan, there is some sewers that were built in 2008 also. Those are in good condition from what we're seeing. The interceptor itself was clean. It was, very little maintenance, so it looked in good condition. It's when you get into the older sewers and the FLIR and Ridgewood plan, which are vitrified clay pipe, brick manholes, that's where we're seeing the issues. So we're seeing sediment deposits, break-in taps, structural defects, root intrusions, the whole gamut on the sewer line. So we're going to get everything compiled. We're going to put it in a GIS database, and we can go over it and show you what we're seeing, and then I guess discuss future planning. And it might be annual grant applications for different repair projects to try to piece it out to make it affordable over so many years. And if we see anything significant that may need addressed quicker, we'll bring that to your attention. So.
Do we recently have any failures? Recently have any failures on that part?
We did have up there, if you remember, last year we had the one homeowner, I think it's Windcrest, or can't remember what the name of it is, but he had a problem with his lateral where it connected into the main and where the Y was never installed properly, so we did the repair on that. But what the problem is there is that's one of the sections that Larry's mentioning is we found the upstream manhole, the manhole that goes back to service the 3 properties, including his. We found it, but somebody buried it. There's 3 foot of fill on top of it, so we can't access it. And that's the problem that we're going to run into over there is making sure we have the easements to get to some of this stuff. There's stuff that it looks like there are easements. We have to see if there's been structures that have been built on there. So the best thing's going to be is once we're able to get through all of this, do an evaluation, like Larry said, then we can go ahead and start to make a plan to rehab and do whatever. But I think the most important thing is going to be is once we find out where all the buried manholes are, I think that's the first major project is to get all that stuff up to grade and open, because if you have an emergency and you can't get in there, that prolongs the problem. So that's, where we're at with that. But that's, here and there we do get calls, but we had a call today over on Park Crest. They had an issue. Plumber came out. They thought it was the lateral crossing the road, but it turned out it's on the property owner. So that's what we're finding.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and that's one thing we have in the report, that there's going to be areas where we could not televise it because of these access issues. So we'll have that identified for future planning once the manholes are raised and go back in. The other thing we've run into, I don't know if there's enough clean air vents on the customer laterals. We have had some backups while they were jetting because there's no way to vent the air. So I think the complaints have been minimal, but I think there have been some complaints, just so everybody's aware. Yeah.
There's been a handful.
Yeah. Miller's Run Lift Station Emergency Bypass Outfall Repair. We did issue the award letter December 17th, and we had the pre-construction meeting January 13th. They advised they're going to start construction in approximately 10 weeks. They got to get the materials. One of them's a duckbill check valve, which takes a little bit of time to get those. They're not typically off the shelf, so but that's moving forward. Cherry Brook, we did review the preliminary design with Mike, and we're working on the design for final review with Mike, and then we can talk about bid schedule. Monaco wastewater treatment plant, no update under engineering. Tom Brown Incorporated sanitary sewer extension, we did email him today, just based on the discussion of the aerial crossing, that that's something that have to remain private, and we did send like the standard details and rules and regulations, and inform him like the next step would be he needs to send a sketch plan and then how much sewage he would need, so we could determine like sewage planning requirements. If it's we have to go through DEP. I mean, you'll have to get township approval. So hopefully we get the submittal in. If it's a sketch plan or something, we could talk about it. So grants, the only thing. So 2024 LSA, the authority was not on the approved project award list, so we assume there will be some rejection letters for those two projects. Small water and sewer, the state met today, and I was looking through the list there. I did not see the authority listed for the Teodori project either. And that's all I have until we go back to the presentation, so. So today, it's an overview of the Southview area sanitary sewer extension and discussions with Mount Pleasant Authority, and just to give the board an overview of what the project potentially is, to see if we wanted to discuss next steps. So, all right, go to page 2. All right, so 2025, the Mount Pleasant Authority approached Cecil Authority about potential extension to serve the Southview area and Till area of Mount Pleasant and Cecil Township. So we've had follow-up meetings, last one being September 26th, to discuss feasibility status funding. So the sketch there, that is from, that shows, so on the left side you can see the Southview area, which is in Mount Pleasant, but also includes Antill Street, where the township line is. Notice it's a little hard to read. Then on the right side, you can see where the Miller's Run interceptor, that SMHEEE, that's your end of line. So that'd be the closest manhole. Next slide. So next slide, this is from Mount Pleasant Authority's engineer. It shows the Southview area that would be served. So there's 96 customers in the service area, and 25 of those are located within Cecil Township. So when you look at, on the right side, you'll see Antill Street and Carlisle Street. In Antill Street, looking at the county tax assessment website, the right side of the street's in the township, the left side's in Mount Pleasant, and then all of Carlisle Street would be in Cecil Township. And where that red box is, that's where they had previously planned to put I think it was a lift station to pump to a treatment plant they were proposing. This is where we would now put a manhole and extend all the way down to Miller's Run. Go to the next page. So I believe this was early last year. We looked at alternatives analysis. It's about 2 miles from that manhole EEE up to where that red box was. We looked at two alternatives: a gravity sewer, which is about $3.25 million, and that's with 40% contingency and soft costs, versus a lift station and force main, which costs more money because lift stations are pretty pricey, $3.78 million. So gravity sewer would be the best alternative, lowest future operations and maintenance, and lowest capital cost. So next. And this is just a profile that we did when we did that alternatives analysis early last year that shows the profile. It's generally downhill from Southview down to that Miller's Run manhole. Next slide. So the next question is, if it's going to be flowing to the Miller's Run plant, how much capacity do you have available to take on these customers? So this table here provides, if you look at this table here, preliminary treatment plant capacity analysis, Miller's Run is rated for 520,000 gallons per day. That's the top row. Second row shows the 5-year average daily flow. You're about 159,161 gallons per day. And if you take that and divide it by the number of customers, equivalent dwelling units you have, your customers use about 121 gallons per day per EDU. Okay. And that becomes important when we talk about proposed development. Like a DEP planning, they require 400 gallons per day per EDU, but your actuals are like 121. Peak daily flow at Miller's Run in that 5-year period was 242,000 gallons per day, so well below plant rated capacity. So using the average, your 5-year available reserve capacity, you have 360,000 gallons per day available at that plant. So you have a lot of capacity available. Go to the next. So now looking at Southview, but also developments that are already committed to, and also putting in the Monaco plan if they were to connect. how much capacity or do you have, I guess, spoken for, and what do you have available? So Southview, the 121 EDUs, if you calculate it based on what the actual is likely going to be, it's about 15,000 gallons. If you use a DEP number, it's like 48,000 gallons. So you can see there's a big spread. But since you have this historic data, you can use the historic data. If it was a new sewer system with no plant, you'd have to use that DEP 400 number. But now you have a good history here, the 5-year history. We can use the 121 gallons. But just gives you like a bracket, like a low and a high. Silver Creek, it's between 30,000 and 96,000, depending on how you calculate it. Iron Ridge, between 15,000 and 51,000. And then Monaco Plan, between 14,000 and 48,000. And I believe when we talked to, is it LSI, it was around 10,000, 15,000 they have per day, something like that. Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Yep. So going back to the previous page, you have 360,000 gallons per day available using a DEP number. On the high range, it's 244,000 capacity that would be committed to, but in all likelihood, it's going to be closer to 75,000 gallons per day based on your historic, what your customers actually use. So.
When we had that meeting last year, there was a discussion about how many individuals they really wanted to tap into this system, and I think there was a hint that they would like to do everybody, right? Not just that immediate area. That this area that they're focused on now is not everybody. Is that
Right. The sewer extension you be going through properties or
right?
against properties that would have to connect. Yes.
But there was a number I thought that they threw out there when we were looking at the lollipop. I remember the lollipop, and in the lollipop, the Southview, what we're looking at now is not everybody.
Correct. Yep.
Did we ever look at this to see, okay, once we make this available, that's going to open up development and others are going to want to jump on. And so what does that mean?
Down the road, the cost.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay for this as a snapshot now with just the 121 EDUs, and that's all good information. But
Right.
all of a sudden, what happens if it starts to spark interest? And now, hey, I want to get in. I want to get in. What can we really support from that end? And if we take everybody, because I think I thought they gave us a number. I have to pull my.
Well, so the 121 that's on the presentation, it was 96 were in the bubble. And then the stick going down to Miller's Run, that was additional 25. That gets you to the 121. That's existing structures.
Okay.
So, in terms of growth, I mean, you have capacity available at the plant. I don't know any planning or plans. I guess, was there a call on one property?
I think there was a call for a couple properties in Cecil that, a couple of the roads there that shoot up off of, if you're going down 50 towards the building here off on the left-hand side, there were a couple inquiries there. But if I remember that meeting correctly, that was mentioned about the other properties, but I think it's just the way everything fell. They would prefer to have built a plant somewhere there and send the flows to that plant, because it just wouldn't be able to be sent our direction.
Yeah.
So,
Because there was a discussion about some of it maybe going towards Hickory.
Yeah,
Because there's a ridge line there where gravity only works for so far of the community. The other side would have to go a different direction,
Right.
right? Do you
Right.
remember? That's my recollection.
yeah,
anyway.
yeah, that's mine as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just
'cause-
something to think about again. I'm not.
I think just as everyone's looking at this, and Brad, you were there as well. I thought that the sense was that after our board had more enlightenment on what they're receiving tonight, that the question was whether or not this board would agree to work with Mount Pleasant to apply for money. That was my take, not to commence work or to commit, but to have the engineers work together to apply for money.
I thought the next step was after we saw this, that we would have this presentation also go to the Board of Supervisors to make sure that they were on board.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
with
yes, you're
this
right.
too. So that is one
to,
other
to
step.
let them, yeah. But then ultimately, that You're right. Then the
Because if
next,
this does anything to, that doesn't fall in line with the supervisor's
Yeah.
plans for development, we don't want to be the restrictor of anybody. That's the one thing. It looks like we clearly we're not going to be restricting, but, I mean, there's a lot of land, and I don't know
Yeah.
what is
Yeah,
planned.
You're right, but beyond that, whatever this decided, then I think the next step was just to look for money. Because they've got 3 million on the hip right now. How long they'll be able to keep that, I don't know. But the last time I brought that up, they indicated that the shot clock wasn't real short on that.
They claim, my recollection, they claim they can't lose it, that they have to use it.
Yeah.
And I think what
I
we,
think that goes to your next slide.
Yep,
too.
yep.
is that, and then part of our other discussion was that now adding Cecil Township to the sort of joint venture, maybe that would open up more potential for them to seek other funding before others start funding with them.
Yeah.
Right, because now they have an out plan. They don't have an out plan right now. They have money to do infrastructure, but they can't connect anywhere.
Right.
That was what I recalled from that.
Yep.
But there's more, I'm assuming. So
Yep.
let's listen. Thank you.
So under the next slide would be the funding we just touched on. So, so total project cost is round number $7 million. That includes the whole lollipop. So that's the line extension from Miller's Run up to Southview area, and then the portion at Mount Pleasant they've already designed and permitted. They're more or less shovel ready for that area. So the Southview area, they're about 3.75 million. Miller's Run Interceptor extensions, $3.25 million. The authority, Mount Pleasant Authority, they have received $3 million. They were going to confirm it. They thought it might be up to 3.5 in EPA money, which they have verbally committed to the project for the Southview area collection system portion of the project. So they're just talking using that in that Southview area. And then we did put in there, they're not aware of any spending deadlines for EPA funding received. I do know when we got the funding from Senator Casey for the Lawrence project, they even told us, well, the $1 million, even if you can't spend it on this project, it's yours, you can spend it on another project. Because we got the money so late, you'd already had the project in place that some of the federal hoops, we didn't know if we were able to get through them and get the money reimbursed, but you were. It was painful, but we got the money reimbursed for the project. You received that check within the last 6 months. So, but just to give, I guess, a little more background on the schedule and what Mount Pleasant's heard, that kind of rings true with what we heard in terms of the $1 million you had received previously. You did send a letter of support to Mount Pleasant for inclusion in the Washington County local share account for the last year. And they're awaiting word on other funding applications. And we did glance at the small water sewer awards from today. We did not see them listed on that notice. We did do a preliminary debt service analysis. So looking at, see the white bands and the gray bands, we looked at, so Penvest, we assume Penvest funding. When they do, Penvest does loans, it's 3 types of loans. It's either a 20-year county cap rate, 20-year 1% loan, or a 30-year 1% loan. So each, like the first white band looks at, okay, if the loan amount was $2 million, Mount Pleasant contributed $3 million to the project, and then we put local share amounts, so that could be tap fees, grants, et cetera, of $2 million. At the different rates, 20-year, 2.07% is the county cap, that's a composite rate over 20 years. The 20-year 1%, 30-year 1%. What the annual debt service is, just looking at that on the 121 customers. You go to the far right, that tells you what the monthly debt service per customer would be for the project if you just applied it to those customers. That doesn't include treatment charges, other charges. That's just looking at straight debt service. And just showing if you got more grant money, how does that move the needle?
How does that, I don't have public sewage where I'm at, so I'm not sure. How does that, you said it, it's a lot. That
That's a
looks
lot.
like a lot.
Yeah.
To me. What's so like if you take Cecil Township, what's the average cost per month of a residence? What are they
We
paying?
only have it at the Miller's Run,
Half of that?
right?
What's the average bill, Mike? Like 60?
$68, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is
That's
about
high.
yeah, this is higher than, and,
Right.
That's the bill. In Miller's Run, there's an extra $10 for the debt service.
That's what I was remembering.
But
So
everybody
this
else
is the
it
debt
meets.
service here.
Right.
Like,
That's not
right,
treatment
this,
or the
this
line
isn't
fee,
your
yeah.
usage or.
yeah, it's
the
this
regular-
number plus.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I'm wondering, are they thinking that their usage will be blended with the rest of the township and then everyone contributes that is, no, would they think that? Like, hey, we're gonna get in with a bigger township, we're gonna distribute the pain, and you're like, right now, this is isolated to them because, well, we can do that because we know this is directly for that community, right?
We've only had preliminary discussions. That would be my assumption, but,
Okay,
you
all right.
know.
Yeah, because it's, your customer count remains the same at 121.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's,
And if you remember, preliminary discussion on that too as well was, quite possibly, they weren't sure if they were gonna keep those 96 customers for them, or they were just gonna give them to us.
Dedicate everything to the,
Dedicate the sewer system, everything to us, and they wouldn't have any parts of it. So that's another piece of the puzzle that would need to be discussed.
but what if the number goes, like, so the number won't go down, right? Because that would make it worse. If the 121 became
Right.
90,
Yeah.
then all of a
Your
sudden.
division goes
The
down, yeah,
infrastructure and the
yeah.
overhead and the expense
Yeah.
to put the system in didn't
Right.
change. That's a fixed cost.
Right.
Now it's getting distributed. So we
Right.
would have to have full commitment to the 121 to hold these numbers.
right, and right now you have 96 in the Mount Pleasant area. The 25 is assuming 25 along the route that
25 are in Cecil.
counted off an aerial that, yeah.
Okay.
And the ideal goal would be to try to get more funding. The more funding you can get, if the project's 7 million and you can get 6 million, then all those numbers are gonna slide lower, but it seems like they're not getting any additional funding when they're applying for it. It's like it's locked in place, and
Yeah, because some of these, they're up to 130, almost
Yes.
$150.
Yep.
There's some down at the bottom, it's
There's
169 if we
152,
lose,
yeah, right,
if the
okay.
cost gets inflated much and it goes over what we anticipate, well, that's
If
still
you,
7
if you get
million.
less grant, yeah. If you
That's
have to
no
take more
grants.
loan. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's no grants.
yeah.
And
yeah,
that could
so-
happen.
Yep, sorry, go ahead.
And
that's
like
why
you
this
said,
is
Brett,
all
I'm sorry.
good to discuss. you know,
Right.
Just to see if it's even feasible. You know, it's just, you hate to say no if it could be beneficial to us in the long run.
Right.
But if it's
Well,
not
and to them.
beneficial, then you have to, you have to do your due diligence.
Right.
And the sense seemed to be that, as you said earlier, Brad, that if there's a combining of a grant request or grant request with multi-municipal, I think the engineers agreed that that enhances your chances of getting
Multi-municipal.
additional monies.
Did we run, and do we have an understanding what potential tap-in fees might be for that community if we do this?
Well, assuming if you
6,800.
just apply your current Miller's Run tap fee, which is 6,800,
6,800.
so you're talking 100 times 6,800 plus
more
another
than
20.
one.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
So it's
Mhm.
not an easier community, it's gonna be a struggle too.
Right.
Okay.
yeah. And I mean, if you moved into the project, you could look at like a special purpose tap fee, in addition, like Miller's Run, which pays for the Miller's Run project plus additional 2,500 or something that you may deem
Yeah.
appropriate.
I mean, I concur with Mike. I said, I don't think we should be a hindrance to it. I think it's all good for the, but I want to make sure everybody understands going into this, this is the
Mhm.
exposure.
Yep.
Right? And because
Yes.
it's not free.
Right.
Right?
Okay,
Thank you.
flip to the next
Thank
one.
you.
Got a couple more in the net.
Mhm.
So status and timeline, so per Mount Pleasant, as I stated, they said they're shovel ready with their portion of the collection system and that they have obtained the right of ways. So next steps to proceed would be the big ones, the Act 537 update, which that is a township plan. So it'd have to be a joint township plan between Cecil Township and Mount Pleasant Township. The two authorities would be involved, but it's actually a township plan. And then it would be doing the survey design and permitting and a permit amendment to do the sewer extension to pick them up. And then on the next, well, I guess some additional considerations, like we talked, to be discussing with the township to see their interest, I guess. And as you go along the way, there's the mandatory taps as you extend the sewer system. Future rate districts, if that's a discussion. Future development, which we talked about along Miller's Run, if there is a potential there that could help offset these costs, but that's, hard to speculate. And we do have the MOU with them already. If you flip to the next page, the last slide we gave you is just like a general overview of what an Act 537 would look like. So the plan contents, this is right from DEP's criteria of what we'd have to include in the plan. And similar to what you did for Lawrence years ago, except this will be a multi-municipal plan, which includes evaluation of alternative. Like what we did so far would go right into the plan, this preliminary analysis. But it's a much heavier lift because of all the red tape we need to include for an official plan update. So, but it goes through the local county and county planning agencies. So it'd be Washington County, Cecil Township Planning Commission, Mount Pleasant Planning Commission. 30-day public comment period. Typically, you'd have a public meeting. There's resolutions need adopted, and have to go to DEP for approval. And it includes an implementation schedule. So the 537 process does take time. So it would, although Mount Pleasant has already done their portion, so we're amending to include theirs. So it's a little, since they already have we already know what the project is. But it's something, it is significant. I'm not going to say it's not, so.
It's a lot to think about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a summary of what we've been working on that one with Mount Pleasant going back and forth and all the costs where we landed, so. Yep,
Are you done with your report?
I'm done. Yep.
Okay, I hate to go, I want to go back briefly, real quick, because I want to understand something. Back to the grants, the two that were not listed on the CFA project award list and the amounts we were requesting, does that mean we're not getting them because they're not on the list? Is that what that represents?
So they released a list of the ones they've awarded so far. I don't know if that was the full gamut of what they're awarding for that grant go-around.
Okay.
Typically, they send out
Just a
rejection letters, so
possibility then.
So if we do
I
not
only, I
get,
only say not on the list because we haven't got the rejection letter yet.
so what, in the event that we do not get the funding, what does that mean for those two projects and the improvements? Are they necessities that we need to be burdened with the cost directly to this authority? Or were they things that we were trying to do just to make improvements because?
Good question.
The latter. I think, go ahead, Mike.
It's an improvement?
Basically, on the Lawrence project grant application, that's the $1 million for the remaining project that's underneath the trestle. On the other side, those homes that are on the other side of the trestle, they're in Lawrence to pick those up. That's to finish that project, the rest of those homes to get them off septic.
Okay.
The Cherry Brook improvement plans, that plant was built in 1994, so you're looking 32 years old. It's just starting to need things. Things are wearing out, so that was more or less preemptive. Like I said, again, I can work things into the budget every year and do little things here, but if we can get a grant combined with what we have to stretch our dollar a little bit further, that's what I was trying to do, is be proactive with that plant.
Okay, so these are not must-dos, it's something that we would like to do.
Yes.
Okay, thank
Even
you.
the Lawrence Phase 2?
It needs to be done at some point in time, but again, it's one of those things, whereas if we can get some grant money for it. I'm not aware of, we've not gotten anything from Washington County Sewage Council that those houses on
Or
the other
DEP,
side,
yeah.
or DEP, that there's
Yeah.
failing systems.
Yeah.
They were getting a lot of complaints for failing septic systems, then yes, I would say it'd be a must-do because it becomes on their radar.
Is it both sides of Georgetown, or is it just
No,
on the
it's
right
actually
side?
if you come down right there where the industrial park is, the dance studio.
Yeah.
When you cross underneath, it's just those few homes that are on the other side of the trestle going towards.
Yeah, but there's
Peter's
On both
houses on
si-
both sides,
There's
Both
houses
sides of
on
the
both
road.
sides, correct.
and
on
it is both sides.
Yes.
So it's everybody on the other side of the trestle.
Yes.
So that could be a must-do if DEP comes down, they mandate that the systems are failed and we need to hook them up, that we may need to find that money.
Yeah.
Is that what?
I think that's
That's what I'm
correct.
hearing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And we've talked about it, it was on my report previously about doing a capital project plan. Maybe we want to do that, do like a 30-year plan, look at all the plants, pump stations, look at We've talked about Monaco. We've talked about
Blair?
Flair. We're going to know Flair now. We're going to have more data now. Start putting in Lawrence Phase 2, piece all it together and see how you budget over the next 30 years.
Right.
See how it comes together.
And the last time you did that was at least 4 years ago, right?
Well, I've
As-
never
as we
put
put
together
in-
like a whole 30-year plan yet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something we've talked about, but I never moved forward. I didn't know if the board wanted me to move forward. And frankly, with Lawrence going on, let's get through Lawrence first. So
Yeah,
that's
'cause we
something we
need
could.
to go through all
Yeah.
the plants, kind of make a list of what's going on at all the plants, kind of get the ages of the equipment, different things like that, so then we can go ahead and put on your list, and then you can rate the projects, like this one's a 5, or this one's a 1, so then you can start moving everything, what's most important on the list.
I don't think we're saying that to do that right now, right? I think we're saying that we need to put that on our list of when does that get done, and your recommendation, Mike.
It's probably going to be something we're going to want to consider, because if everyone remembers, I think it's 2032 or 2035, that bond, the one bond does a balloon payment.
Right.
So at some point in time, we're going to have to look at possibly, doing a refi or something along those lines. And I'm actually looking at a program I have I talked to them previously in '24, and with the Lawrence project, I never got back with them. It was a company that has, it's software that lets you plan out that long-term programming. So I'm going to talk with them on Friday, again, just to revisit it and see what the software has. And it helps with that for the long-term planning, long-term budgeting, cash flow, that sort of thing.
Because if we're talking 30 years out with the Iron Creek development, that is going to start opening up more doors there's a whole lot of property up on top of that hill. There's a lot of community discussion going on right now. I'm hearing a lot of things behind the scenes. So that would all go into Miller's Run. And that's a lot of property up there. And then if we're looking at adding that, so that, for 30 year, I think we should be considering that, because there's a lot of discussions up there on that hill.
So there's a couple things. I think it's very important that we are considering long-term. I would like to hear more about that software program about planning, that I think within the next, this year, within the next 6 months, we should revisit this and come up with a timetable of when we would like to get this together, so that we can start thinking about it for next year's budget. I mean, we just started this year, so that we can start getting those items in the short term addressed and be planning. I don't want to wait too long, but I don't want to jump on it too early either. So I think 6 months seems like a reasonable time frame that we revisit this topic. Yep.
Yeah, it sounds like it runs a lot of what if
Right.
hypotheticals, that you can start to look at what your burden could become if things happen. But it would be good.
And do we want to make the presentation that was made tonight to the supervisors?
Is it too early, or is this the right time to get on their agenda?
I don't think it's too early. I mean, I think at this point, it's time, one way or the other.
It's not going to change.
Yeah.
Right,
and
especially
I mean,
because you're hearing about all of these other discussions, and this all plays into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and
I mean-
if anything, I mean, I agree, Brad, we, heard that Mount Pleasant said that, the money's good forever, but we know nothing's forever, right?
Right.
So, I think there's no reason why we shouldn't throw it out there to them.
Yeah, I mean, if someone gave them money and they're not using it, someone's going to pay attention to
Yeah,
that.
agreed.
Right.
Nobody likes to see that money being sitting.
That much of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's,
I guess one option would be to, one of you wanted to approach the township. I mean, we could do it through their solicitor, but I think a shorter distance between 2 points would be for one of you to reach out to somebody on the board and just say, look, here's what's going on. Do you want to hear about it at your workshop? And, maybe, the engineer could just go tell them what it is, just as he did tonight.
I think that that's good, and I guess I could reach out.
thank you. Yeah, I don't
Because
see the
really,
numbers.
to do that, Act 537 plan, that's the township, that's not us.
Right.
And if they don't even want to entertain it, it's, why
Then
we
it stops.
dragging
And
Mount
if they do,
Pleasant
if they
through
do,
this too? I
if they
mean,
see long-term benefit, if they think it'd be worth it, then the next step would be to, work together to apply for money.
Yeah, and they may know something that we don't know.
right, it may be
Of another
something
development or
that they really want to pursue.
Right.
We have no idea, and we're not the ones that would have to do that effort.
My guess is they're
So
going to.
looping them in, at least we can have those conversations and
Yeah.
see where they fall.
Yeah, my guess is they're going to be concerned about the impact on the capacity to manage to support the township first before going outside the township. They may ask that question. You know. All right.
Okay.
Okay, there are a couple of items to discuss as far as motions relative to the engineer's report. Do we have a motion to approve change order number 4, final, for the Village of Lawrence Collection System, contract number 2017-06, decreasing the contract amount by $462,013.35 for final in-place quantities and work completed?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call vote?
Mrs. Rogers?
Aye.
Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mr. Roach?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
All right.
Mr. Benedetti?
Aye.
Okay, is there a motion to approve pay request number 27 submitted by Melee and Melee Sons, Inc. in the amount of $311,393.26?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Roll call vote?
Mrs. Rogers?
Aye.
Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mr. Roach?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
All right.
Mr. Benedetti?
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve change order number 10 for the Village of Lawrence Treatment Plant and Lift Station construction to increase the contract amount by $37,164.82?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call vote?
Mrs. Rogers?
Aye.
Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mr. Roach?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
All right.
Mr. Benedetti?
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve the Penvest pay request number 29 in the amount of $339,783.85?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Roll call vote?
Mrs. Rogers?
Aye.
Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mr. Roach?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
All right.
Mr. Benedetti?
Aye.
Okay, I think that's everything required for the engineer's report. Next up would be the solicitor's report.
Okay, thank you. Several of my items have already been covered, several that have not. On the Lawrence project, recall that Mike has been working diligently to narrow the list of the non-compliance for the, failures to tap. That list is down considerably, but I guess as we discussed, we weren't going to make our enforcement or start the enforcement filings over the holidays, but we are, based on previous approval, moving forward with that between this meeting and next meeting. We'll start that process with the magistrate. And I'm not sure whether any of them will be scheduled between now and next meeting. My suspicion is that they may not be, but we'll make those filings. Should they be
How many do we
scheduled?
think we're going to be notified?
Well, we're going to do it incrementally. We had various reasons why we thought that we would do that a few at a time rather than in mass.
Okay.
So,
I'm sorry.
and if they would start, Mike and I have already discussed, we know that Mike would have to testify, and go before the magistrate, as would the engineer, and we'll do that incrementally. One would think that once we would start that process, the magistrate would do what's called take judicial notice of the testimony and not make us repeat it each time. So, also with the rules and regulations, based on our last meeting, which Roseanne attended, we went through a variety of items which have been covered by the engineer. To some extent, those rules and regs meetings have turned into almost like a pre-meeting, but it works. And with Roseanne being chairman now, I guess that even facilitates a little easier. I did want to mention that we circulated a draft developers agreement and developers agreement checklist, which we're going to refine, looking to perhaps improve the packet for the developers and the developer agreement itself. But we're continuing to chip away at or to build rather, to the rules and regs. With the CHJA litigation, as we all know, that's getting closer to the finish line. Under Mike's report tonight, there's a motion to approve Chad Hanley. He's an engineer for North Strabane Authority, and he is a resident of North Strabane Township. The managers discussed that, and Roseanne had also offered to assume that position for the CHJ board. But I think they had, I guess, the manager for Chartiers and the manager of North Strabane suggested give Hanley the opportunity to do that, and thus the motion tonight. To some degree, I think he did Roseanne a favor. Thank you for offering, and she may be next person up, who knows. So that's on Mike's report. And the only other item under that CHJA would be that we have confirmation that CHJA has agreed to change its bylaws consistent with what was recommended by the mediator. And once that's shown and all the settlement agreements signed, I think North Strabane Township still has to sign its settlement agreement, then we would have to advise the court that the case is concluded, advise the mediator the same, and hopefully within the next few months we'll be able to report that it's done. One other thing Roseanne brought up about reports. If Mr. Hanley is going to go to these meetings, and I think your point was well taken, that not just you and your board, but the other board should get a report of some sort or an email, whatever, and that's been agreed to as well. So your suggestion is a good one, and you should be receiving some periodic updates. I don't know that they actually have much to say each month, but whatever there is or isn't, it's nice to get a report on it. So that we'll follow up on that as well. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
And thank you again for the reappointment.
Thank you very much. Next, the business manager report, Ms. During.
Your monthly packets include the financial reports for November 2025. Are there any questions?
No.
Update on the Lawrence tap-ins. As of today, we have a total of 34 properties that we have not heard anything from. We received 4 more applications with payment since our December meeting. There's a total of 28 properties who have paid, but they have yet to tap in, and there are 164 properties that are completed and are being billed. For the meeting, I handed out the 2025 Statement of Financial Interest forms. Please have those filled out and returned to me no later than May 1st. And I renewed my notary commission. That will now expire in March of 2030. And I'm also working on updating my spreadsheets for tap-in liens and unpaid sewer liens for 2025. I'm hoping to have those completed before next month's meeting, so you all can see where we stand with that. Lastly, on January 8th, I made a debt service payment in the amount of $225,841.83 for the 2017 bonds. This was to be paid on or before January 15th. The printout of that transaction was included. And that's all for me.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? All right, Mr. Zarenchek, the authority manager's report.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Under old business, the notice of termination for the Teodori wastewater treatment plant has been completed and submitted to the DEP. Anthony Asiello from the DEP was out on January 9th, 2026 to inspect the plant, so we can get that permit closed out. I did receive a letter back from the DEP on January 15th, included in the board packets. Basically, it said that that permit will terminate in 30 days. I'll forward a copy on to LSSE for their records. LNS wastewater update, board was provided a cost estimate from LSSE in the engineering report. We can talk a little bit at the next committee meeting a little further about this, because I haven't had a chance to really review that, but talk more when we meet. New trucks have been upfitted with the safety equipment and the lighting. They have also been lettered. They're all back, and that's all taken care of. Backflow preventer annual inspection was completed at the 3 plants on January 9th. I'm just waiting for the paperwork to come in. And then last item under old business was the technical service bulletin update for the steering shaft. Works have been completed on both trucks, so they're done, and that recall's been taken care of. Under new business, I've received inquiries about 3 potential developments. One is for a potential single-family home development of approximately 105 homes on 2 parcels of property between Elm Drive and Cecil Henderson Road. The second is for a development off Coleman Road, and the third is for a development off of Mayview Road. These are all preliminary. There's nothing official. The developer for the Coleman Road project is requesting to meet just to see how he can get service to that site. And the engineer for Mayview Road project is looking to set up a meeting, and we're going to get a couple dates to discuss capacity and how he would get to those points. I did include in your packets some sketches of what's there, the parcels of property. Like you said, there's no real on the Mayview Road and the Coleman Road. They didn't give me any number of homes or anything like that. Number 2, the annual Chapter 94 reports are due by March 28th for 226 for calendar year 225. I have started working on these reports. The waste sludge profile for sewage sludge disposal at Waste Management's Arden landfill was submitted, and I got the approval back, so we are good to haul sludge there until February of 2027. Item 4, the old plow truck. Stewart Contracting has made an offer to purchase the plow truck for $1,800. I included the email for that. Basically, it needs 2 fuel straps. The bed is shot on it. It needs a few sensors. About the only thing that it's really worth is the plow. So looking at that, you're probably looking at the most you can get for that plow setup is probably around $2,000. So I think the $1,800 is a fair offer. If we go more than that, and Ramel, you can correct me if I'm incorrect on this, anything over $2,000 needs to be advertised.
Yep, so you're good as it is.
Yep. So I think this is just best way, and basically that $1,800 will cover the lettering for the truck, both trucks. So it'd be a win-win, and it's out of our hair. The Iron Ridge development has requested to meet to discuss royalties from people connecting to the sewer once constructed. I'll coordinate a meeting with the solicitor and the engineer and the developer to get more details on this, so we can have that information. And then item number 6 under new business is I'm going to coordinate the flow study for the FLIR plan collection system to address the possible infiltration that comes into the system. The study needs to be conducted prior to spring when the water table is elevated and trees are not in bloom. This project would take place at night. We did include money in the capital budget for this project, but it's a good way just to see, if we're getting anything extra. So when we do go to do that plan to rehabilitate the system, we have an idea, where to start and target. And then the last item is there is a 2-day electrical troubleshooting and maintenance class on February 25th and 26th in Pittsburgh. I think it would be beneficial to attend, as the new SBR plant in Lawrence has many electrical components that run that process. So it would be good to get a better handle on how to process some of this stuff. So if we do have problems, we can troubleshoot it in-house before we have to bring somebody in. Only problem is it's not a cheap class, but its cost is $1,495. And those are my items, and will entertain any questions if anybody has any.
I do have a question on the two of the three possible new subdivisions or build-outs, whatever. Both of those, two of the three would go into Miller's Run, and were not included in the Southview area sanitation plan.
No, because they just came about here recently, so we didn't have anything to consider those.
So that's right there is
Right.
more capacity needed already on Miller's Run then.
Yeah, so on Miller's Run, that would be would depend on how many homes. So there's 105 homes, so again, you'd have to figure out what the capacity would be for that. So again, it's one of those things where, it's good to look at the Mount Pleasant project, but again, if it's not feasible, we have to do what's best, for the township.
Right.
In-house.
Where would the one on Mayview Road, where would that one go to? Would that go over to Lawrence?
No, it would go over to Lawrence, but it would tie into the existing pump station off of Commerce Boulevard. It's what they're looking to do.
Is it this piece of property here?
It's that piece of property.
But
and if
Commerce
you- if you're
Boulevard's
looking
higher.
If you're looking at that property, up in the left corner, you'll see a little parcel, right above it. Go forward. Right here, Brad. Right here. And basically, they would come through here, and our pump station is right here.
But this is lower in elevation.
Right, they would put a pump station here, pump
Oh,
to this pump station,
okay.
and then is what they're talking about, but until we meet with them to get further idea, it was just, I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention that we were approached. I will entertain any other questions.
Who would be doing the flow study for the FLIR plan?
That would be LSSE.
Okay. And I do think it's a good idea for the electrical troubleshooting.
Yep.
I mean, it's
I
a
agree.
brand new plant to just go in blind when you have an opportunity to get ahead of these things is absolutely going to be
Are you gonna take
beneficial.
the class?
No, I think that's great. Okay, also on the agenda, under the authority manager report, there were a couple of motions for consideration. Do we have a motion to approve signing an engagement letter with Mark C. Turnley CPA for the 2025 financial audit?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call vote?
Mrs. Rogers,
Aye.
Mrs. Barnes,
Aye.
Mr. Roach,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Benedetti.
Aye.
And both as our solicitor and you have mentioned, or we've talked about, we will need a motion to approve the appointment of Chad Hanley to the Cannonsburg-Houston Joint Authority Board non-voting seat as per the settlement agreement. Do we have such a motion? I'll make it. I will make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call vote.
Mrs. Rogers,
Aye.
Mrs. Barnes,
Aye.
Mr. Roach,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Benedetti.
Aye.
All right. Ms. During, is there any correspondence to report on?
There's none.
All right, committee reports. I think we touched on some of the reports for the rules and regulations, and the budget was already approved. Any other committee reports?
For the employees, for the human resources, are you starting your reviews?
Yes, I was going to have a brief executive session to discuss personnel.
Okay.
Perfect. Is there a motion to approve payment of expenses, transfer budgets, et cetera, based on the packet information? That's payment of expenses, invoices, employee payroll, tax deposits, employee state tax payment.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call vote.
Mrs. Rogers?
Aye.
Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mr. Roach?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Benedetti?
Aye.
All right, do we have any comments from the floor this evening?
No, I can just introduce myself.
Sure.
We might be working together, me and Mike working together. My name's Adam Ferragonio. A little bit of background, I worked for Canonsburg Youth Treatment Plant for 24 years. I retired. I operated Lear Treatment Plant that was my father-in-law.
Mhm.
I operate L&S wastewater treatment plant now for 40-some years. And I sat on the board for 11 years. So that's a little bit of my background, so we might be seeing each other.
It's his
Great.
fault.
Well, glad you came to the meeting tonight,
Yeah.
and thank you for the introduction. Much appreciated. All right, it looks like we are looking for an executive session tonight to discuss personnel matters.
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mrs.
Do roll call
Rogers?
vote. Aye.
Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mr. Roach?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Benedetti?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah.
You have plenty of time.
Oh, no. Oh, shit, I got
Adam, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Returning from executive session. With that, I move we adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second, third?
Second.
that motion.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye, aye, aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Good job.
Hey, Mike, did you
Nice.
need any more signatures? Good.
That's all I needed from you, Ramel.